Hands up, Kyle, hands up. Give your hands up.
Of my destiny, no time.
Keep your hands up, Kyle. Hands up. Take it, yes. Take it, yes. Yes. Win them. Step by him. Step by him. Step by him. Step by him. Step by him.
Welcome. We recently interviewed a promoter for a CUF event, that's CUF 10, CUF being the Caribbean Ultimate Fist Fighting. It was held at the Woodbrook Youth Facility. Now, we are actually lucky to be chatting with Kyle Chin via Skype, one of the contestants. He actually won his round, so we say hello, Kyle, and thank you for actually being part of this segment.
All right, thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
So, talk to us a little bit about your feelings in terms of the actual contest.
Well, I mean, I'm elated. I'm over the moon. I put a lot of training into preparing for this fight. It was a dangerous opponent. So to get the win, especially in the way that I did, which was by first round knockout, it was just immensely overwhelming. I was just over the moon. I didn't know what to do it myself. So I was just hanging off of the cage, just screaming. But I mean, a lot of work went in. The event itself was a great event. We were well taken care of by Adam and the promotion. So I feel really good. I feel really good about the experience overall.
All right, so I actually know of you from UWI Mona. Talk to the journey towards MMA things.
Well, yeah, as you mentioned, we know each other from university. I did my degree in literature and philosophy, and it was actually. Martial arts I've always had a love affair with martial arts. Was a Bruce Lee fan as a kid, Van Damme, Jackie Chan, Jet Li, all of that, So definitely was always, and did karate as a young youth, but, separated from it, did other sports, and, kind of came back to it much later on, many years after university and after film school. I shouldn't say many years, so it made me sound very old, but after film school and university, revisited the martial arts, started doing Kung Fu again, started doing kickboxing, and actually started competing in kickboxing. I actually got sick in 2012. I came down with a rare disease called Still's disease, and that kind of debilitated me. So I was physically unable to do much, and coming out of that, I used the martial arts as a rehab kind of tool, and ended up competing in kickboxing, and then just became addicted to the drive of what you're able to accomplish with your own body, and I just kind of still riding that wave and seeing what I can do.
In terms of getting that rehab, doing what you can with your body and seeing what your body can do, talk to me a little bit about the preparation that goes into events such as preparing for CUF.
Oh man, well, I mean, I'm balancing my martial arts with work and other obligations, but I'm training twice a day. I'm doing weight training. I'm doing, strength and conditioning, explosive power, plus, technique, sparring, a lot of drills, wrestling training. We incorporated a lot of wrestling this time, as well as our jiu-jitsu, which we're always doing. We're always doing jiu-jitsu. We're always doing, our striking arts, kickboxing, and so on. So, it was really an intense training camp. I actually hurt my back early in the training camp, when I had started with the weight training. And took a little while, had to kind of take 2 steps back to sort out those injuries. But thank God I was able to get through it. And thank God it happened early enough in the camp that I was able to rehab the back again and keep going. I hurt my shoulder as well. But, this is the nature of the game. It's the nature of the game. You tend to push your body really hard just so you can get every inch, out of it. And, I got hurt a couple times, but I was able to perform great because I was able to just push myself and continue training.
All right, now you're saying that's the nature of the game. What is the nature of the game in the Caribbean? Where are we in terms of MMA? And where do we need to get to?
We're growing. CUF is a shining example. Trinidad is a shining example, to tell you the truth. I mean, you have 2 organizations there that seem pretty big. Cuff is definitely the premier, league in the Caribbean, and is pushing the whole movement. They're bringing in fighters from all over, and that is key because it's exposure. It's exposure, and it's also raising the level of competition. I think generally what the rest of the world, I shouldn't say the rest of the world, generally what America, the US would have over the Caribbean right now is just their intercollegiate and their inter-high school wrestling. The wrestling is a huge aspect that gives them a one-up just because of how deeply ingrained it is in their high school culture and their college culture to compete in wrestling. So if we can get that happening for us in the Caribbean, the level of competition would go up for us as well. But other than that, it's just the exposure is great. We're bringing eyes to the Caribbean, and the more and more our fighters show themselves on the world stage, is you know what happens from there.
All right, now what would you say to the person thinking about getting into MMA? You said that you did literature and philosophy. What would you say to someone who just has thoughts, I wonder if I can do this?
Well, I would say you need to love it. Like, you need to absolutely love competing. You need to absolutely love training and pushing your body. And you need to know your why. Like, everybody has their own why. Some people hold it close to their heart and don't tell other people, like myself. Like, I kind of have my why and I'm not really going to tell everyone. But, or you can be the person who needs to share your why. But the point is you need to know why you're doing it. You need to understand that it's an extremely difficult commitment to make, and it is a commitment. And there are going to be a lot of, rocky roads to overcome. But at the end of the day, if you love it, then you're doing what you love, and that's its own payment.
Fabulous. Now, you spoke about MMA not being the only thing you do. You spoke about having a job. You also spoke about film school. Talk to me about you and film.
All right. Well, I always loved film. Film has always impacted me. Movies have always impacted me, as I had mentioned. And I've always been kind of hypnotized by the power that movies have to affect human emotions and to influence thought. So I'd always loved that power and kind of wanted to wield that power for myself. So, right after university, started working in the office and so on, and got a call from a producer who had seen a little work I did for a 6-week mini DV filmmaking course. And he called me and said, we're shooting a movie called Better Must Come. Do you want to be a PA, a production assistant on the film, for 8 weeks? So I quit. I was working at a bank at the time. It was like the premier financial institution in Jamaica, and I quit that job, went full 100 into working on the set, and that's kind of the person I am. I dedicate to things. Once I decide I'm gonna do something, I jump straight into it. So did that movie, worked on a couple, and I was freelancing for about a year, and then got the opportunity to go away to film school in California. Went away, did film school. Even worked there for a little bit, for basically half a year, not very long. But thankfully got the opportunity to work on some movie sets and some national commercials and stuff like that. And came back home, been working freelance. I started my own, production company, and I'm, balancing it out.
Now, you've had that experience both home and abroad. What are some of the challenges to film in the Caribbean?
Well, truth be told, the main challenge that we have is distribution. That is the number one thing that separates us from other regions. In that one state in California, one state in America, California alone, has more theaters, more cinemas than the entire Caribbean. And I just say that to say that the amount of eyes that can get to each product in a market like the States or Asia or Europe is much, much, much bigger, than the Caribbean. So we have the difficulty of getting investors to believe in our products enough to put the money in and think, because investors will always think about the comeback. They'll always think about, how the return will happen. So, with that in mind, it's always the idea that how can we make back our money? So distribution is our thing. Once a distribution outlet is set up, it could be from the Caribbean to Europe, to Asia, to North America, South America, whatever it is, distribution outlets will be the key to bringing our film industries, to the forefront.
In terms of looking at what has already been done in the Caribbean in terms of film, and going from names like The Harder They Come to Better Must Come, what can we do, or how can we work towards breaking out of that island stereotype, or that island bad boy stereotype?
Well, first let me say that I don't necessarily think that we need to. First, let me say that. That's like looking at Francis Coppola and saying, hey, don't make gangster movies. You know what I mean? Like the Italian mob movies were a huge success. When America was doing Westerns, there was a period they were just doing Westerns. There's nothing wrong with it. Now, what I will say is that variety is obviously amazing, and you want to have variety. But there's always a prevalence of one subject matter just based upon, numbers. It's just numbers. Now, there was a film recently called Destiny that did extremely well in theaters in Jamaica. Some record-breaking runs and so on. And there was no violence. It was a drama. It was a drama. It appealed to that soap opera nature that, that people have, like that soap opera kind of vibe where, you want to watch the little drama unfold between, couples and so on and so on. And it was hugely, hugely, hugely successful. I think good work is good work. And once good work is done, it's good. It's just that people have this idea that a riveting story is going to involve, the violence, and it's going to involve hard knock stories. And the truth is, when you look at the examples of what wins Oscars and or what makes a lot of money in Hollywood, that's where you see those those trends come to life. I mean, blockbusters in Hollywood are action films.
It's all right, Randy. Everything is okay.
So what's next on the cards for you, Kyle?
Just keep doing what I'm doing. Keep fighting, keep shooting films, keep growing.
All right, so thank you so much for taking the time to share with us your thoughts on a true Renaissance man, in terms of like the MMA front, film front, and just some other things that you're thinking about in general.
Have a good day, man. Take care. Big up Trinidad.